You ever look around and realize that everybody's talking, but nobody's really doing anything? Everybody's posting, everybody's watching, everybody's running their mouth. But when it's time to actually grind, to focus, to lock in, they're gone. That's the world we live in now. A world addicted to noise, distraction, and fake attention. Everyone wants to be seen, but nobody wants to be silent long enough to build something real. And that's why most people never grow. They want validation before they've even started the work. They want applause for effort that hasn't even been made. But you're different. You wouldn't be here if you weren't searching for something deeper. You're not just trying to look successful. You're trying to become it. You're not chasing likes. You're chasing peace. You're not chasing followers. You're chasing focus. And I get it. It's hard to focus on yourself when the world is screaming at you to be someone else. It's hard to stay silent when your ego wants to prove everybody wrong. But that's where the real strength lies. In the silence that no one respects until they see the results it creates. The silence where you start rebuilding piece by piece away from the eyes of the crowd. The silence where you stop explaining and start executing. Because let me tell you something, the loudest person in the room usually isn't the most powerful one. The real power moves in silence. The real transformation happens when no one's watching. The real growth takes place in those late nights, those early mornings, those moments when you could give up, but you don't. This world rewards distraction, but destiny rewards discipline. Every minute you waste proving yourself to people who don't even care is a minute stolen from your purpose. You think silence makes you invisible. But it doesn't. It makes you dangerous. Because when you stop talking and start moving, you become unpredictable. And that's when people start paying attention. Not to your words, but to your results. So if you're tired of being overlooked, tired of feeling stuck, tired of giving energy to people who never gave it back, this is your moment to take it all back. Not with noise, not with drama, but with focus. This is your moment to cut off the world, to go dark, to grind in peace until your success becomes too loud to ignore. Every second you stay disciplined while they're distracted, you're building a version of yourself they'll never be able to compete with. This isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. It's about separating from the noise so you can hear your purpose again. Because the truth is, when you finally focus on yourself and stay silent, the world doesn't forget you. It just starts to fear the version of you that's coming. So don't talk about it. Don't post about it. Don't explain it. Just lock in, grind in silence, and let your next move make the noise they'll never forget. Silence is your greatest strategy, not your weakness. Most people misunderstand that line because they associate silence with passivity, like you're just sitting there doing nothing while the world moves forward without you. But that's not what silence means when you're on a mission. Silence means you've entered a zone where distractions can't reach you anymore. It's a sacred space where focus becomes your weapon, where growth happens in the dark before the world ever gets to see the results. The loud ones. The ones who always have something to prove, who broadcast every move, who live for likes, validation, and approval. They burn out because every ounce of energy they put into being seen is energy stolen from becoming great. Silence is the opposite. It's the discipline of saying, I don't need you to notice me yet. I'm too busy becoming dangerous. When you choose silence, you take control of your power. You stop handing it out to people who haven't earned the right to hear your plans. You stop giving energy to arguments that don't matter. You stop wasting time convincing others that you're doing something meaningful. Instead, you work, you grind, you build in the shadows, you sharpen your craft in solitude. And that's what makes silence so deadly. Because while everyone else is talking about what they're going to do, you're already becoming it. You're not performing, you're transforming. You're not announcing, you're advancing. That's the difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise. See, the truth is, when you're quiet, the world underestimates you. They assume your silence means surrender. They assume your stillness means you've stopped moving. But you're not still, you're strategizing, you're recalibrating. You're learning how to strike smarter, not louder. People who can't handle silence are usually addicted to noise, and noise is the comfort zone of the average. They need to be heard because deep down, they're afraid of being unseen. But greatness is born in obscurity. Every legend had a season where nobody knew their name. Every success story started in a silent chapter where the world wasn't watching, but the work was still being done. Silence teaches patience. It builds resilience. It trains you to sit with the uncomfortable truth that progress doesn't always feel like motion. You might not have applause. You might not have recognition. You might even feel invisible. But that's where the real growth is happening, when nobody's clapping for you and you keep showing up anyway. Because silence forces you to build from conviction, not validation. It forces you to believe in your vision when no one else does. It makes you prove to yourself that you're not doing it for attention. You're doing it because you were born to do it. In silence, you find clarity. The noise of the world, the opinions, the comparisons, the competition, it fades away when you choose isolation with purpose. You start hearing your own voice again. You start recognizing what actually matters. You start identifying what's holding you back and what's worth keeping. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of awareness. It's the state where your inner voice becomes louder than the outside noise. That's when you realize that half of the battles you were fighting weren't even real. They were distractions created by your need for validation. Once you silence that, your energy becomes pure. Your direction becomes sharp and your mind becomes unstoppable. Most people are too afraid to go silent because silence exposes them. When the noise stops, they have to face themselves, their doubts, their insecurities, their unfinished work. But the ones who can sit in silence and keep building, those are the ones who separate from the crowd. Those are the ones who transform. Because silence demands accountability. It forces you to look at the gap between you say you are and who you actually are. And that realization hurts, but it's necessary. That's why silence isn't weakness. It's the ultimate act of strength. It takes strength to shut up and show up. It takes strength to hold your energy when everyone around you is wasting theirs. It takes strength to walk away from attention and walk toward purpose. You can tell who's truly focused by how quiet they've become. When someone's really in the zone, they're not telling you about their grind. You just feel it when they walk in the room. They move differently. They talk less. They execute more because they understand that silence protects momentum. The moment you start telling everyone your next move, you invite opinions, doubts, and distractions. People start projecting their fears onto your vision. And before you know it, you're questioning yourself because you let too many voices inside your head. Silence keeps that door locked. It keeps your focus pure. It keeps your fire burning without interference. Think about a seed underground. Nobody sees it. Nobody claps for it. Nobody believes in it. But it's still growing. It's still breaking through. It's still pushing against the dirt that's suffocating it. That's what your silent season feels like. Dark, lonely, unseen. But that's where the transformation happens. When you finally break through the surface, everyone will see the flower, but they won't understand the struggle it took to grow those roots. That's why you don't owe anyone an explanation. Your silence is the soil that your future grows in. Every day you spend working in quiet is a day your roots go deeper, stronger, more unshakable. And here's the truth. Silence is not for the lazy, it's for the disciplined. Because staying silent when you want to be seen takes emotional control. It takes maturity to say, I don't need to show off my progress, I just need to make progress. That's the mindset that separates leaders from followers. The ones who master silence are the ones who can handle the pressure of being misunderstood. They don't need people to get it. They don't need people to approve. They trust that the results will speak for them. That's real confidence. When you can walk through life knowing that one day your work will speak so loud, you'll never need to. There will be moments when silence feels painful, when you want to scream your frustration, when you want the world to see how hard you're trying. But in those moments, remember, lions don't need to roar to prove they're lions. Their power is understood. Your silence is that same kind of power. It's the calm before your storm, the discipline before your domination. You're not ignoring the world, you're outgrowing it. You're not hiding, you're building. And when the time comes, you won't need to announce your return. Your results will do that for you. So the next time someone says you're too quiet, take it as a compliment. The next time they think you've fallen off, smile, because you know you're rising higher than they can see. Silence is not weakness, it's your secret weapon. The quiet ones are the ones who make the loudest impact because they let their actions speak. And when you move like that, when you focus on yourself, when you master the art of silence, nothing and no one can stop you. Focus on the mission, not the noise. That's where most people lose themselves. The world has never been louder than it is right now. Everywhere you turn, there's something pulling at your attention, notifications, opinions, gossip, competition, fake perfection, distractions that look like opportunities. And the sad truth is most people never reach their potential, not because they lack talent, because they keep getting pulled into the noise. They start with a dream, but end up chasing attention. They start with purpose, but end up comparing themselves to everyone else. They start with hunger, but end up exhausted from trying to keep up with people who aren't even on the same path. Focusing on the mission means blocking all that out. It means saying, I didn't come this far to be distracted by nonsense. It's about protecting your purpose with everything you've got. When you truly focus on your mission, something inside you changes. You stop living to impress people and start living to fulfill your calling. You stop chasing recognition and start chasing results. You stop worrying about what people think because you're too busy building something that will speak for itself. The mission becomes your oxygen. You breathe it. You wake up with it. You go to sleep with it. And once you reach that level of focus, the noise doesn't even touch you anymore. You don't care about who's doing better, who's getting more likes, who's getting more attention, because you realize that none of it pays your dues. None of it builds your dream. None of it changes your life. The only thing that matters is the work. But staying focused in a noisy world is one of the hardest battles you'll ever fight, because the noise is seductive. It wants to distract you. It wants to feed your ego. It wants to make you believe that talking about your goals is the same as achieving them. But there's a difference between progress and performance. The mission demands progress. The world rewards performance. One makes you powerful, the other keeps you trapped. That's why most people never make it. They're too busy performing for attention instead of building for impact. When you choose focus, you choose solitude, because not everyone will understand why you stopped responding, why you stopped hanging out, why you're no longer available for small talk. You're not being rude, you're being real. You've got work to do. You're building something they can't see yet. You're chasing something that doesn't exist yet. That's the price of purpose. You have to walk away from anything that distracts you from it. And yes, it'll get lonely, But loneliness in pursuit of your mission is better than company in distraction. You'll realize that being surrounded by noise doesn't mean you're surrounded by purpose. Silence becomes peace when you're locked in on your mission. Focusing on the mission means you stop reacting to everything. You stop letting emotions run your schedule. You stop giving your attention to things that don't serve your growth. Every time you allow a distraction to steal your focus, you delay your destiny. Every time you let someone's opinion control your energy, you trade progress for validation. You've got to learn to be ruthless with your focus. You've got to learn to say no to good things so you can stay committed to great ones. That's what discipline looks like, not just doing what you have to, but refusing to do what doesn't matter. Because success isn't just about what you do, it's about what you don't let distract you. There will always be noise, people talking about you, people doubting you, people trying to pull you back into their chaos. Let them talk. Let them waste their time. You're not here to prove them wrong. You're here to prove yourself right. Every second you spend defending your mission is a second you're not advancing it. Let your work speak for you. Let your results silence the room. That's how winners operate. They stay quiet, they stay focused, and they let their consistency make the announcement. The mission requires patience too. Because sometimes it feels like you're doing everything right and nothing's moving. You're working hard, you're grinding, you're giving your all, but it feels like no one notices. That's where most people quit. They mistake silence for failure. But silence isn't failure, it's foundation. The mission is testing your commitment. It's asking you, will you still keep going when it feels like nothing's working? And that's when you have to double down. Because if you stay consistent long enough, everything you've been building in silence will start to scream success. The noise tries to convince you that you're behind, but the mission knows your timing. You're not behind, you're being built. You're being refined. You're being prepared for what you're meant to handle. That's why focusing on your mission is so powerful. It teaches you trust. It teaches you to stop chasing speed and start chasing direction. The noise is fast but shallow. The mission is slow but deep. And when you go deep, you build roots. You build strength. You build something that lasts. One of the greatest traps of this generation is comparison. You see someone else's highlight reel and think you're losing. You see their success and start doubting your process. But what you don't see are the nights they struggled, the battles they fought, the failures they survived. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's finale. That's why you have to tune out the noise and tune into your mission. The moment you look around, you lose momentum. Focus forward, eyes on the vision. Every step you take in silence is taking you closer to the life you've been dreaming about. When you lock in on your mission, you become dangerous because nothing they say can move you. Nothing they do can distract you. You start walking with purpose, speaking with conviction, and acting with intention. You stop needing motivation because discipline takes over. You stop begging for opportunities because your focus creates them. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start saying, I'm making it happen. That's what happens when the mission becomes personal. It stops being a wish and starts being a responsibility. The noise will always be there. It will tempt you to pause your progress to prove your worth. It will whisper that you're not enough, that you're too late, that you should quit. But remember, the noise doesn't know your story. The noise doesn't know your vision. The noise doesn't know what you've survived to get here. You've got something inside you the world hasn't seen yet. Protect it. Guard it. Water it every day with focus, effort, and faith. Because when your mission becomes your obsession, nothing can stop you. And one day, the same people who tried to distract you will be the ones asking how you did it. They'll realize the power of your silence. They'll see that while they were busy watching, you were busy working. While they were chasing attention, you were chasing greatness. And when that day comes, you won't even need to explain yourself. You'll just smile because you'll know you stayed focused when everyone else got lost in the noise. That's the difference between those who dream and those who do. One talks about what they want. The other focuses on what must be done. You don't have to prove your mission. You just have to stay loyal to it. Let the noise fade. Let the distractions die. Keep your head down. Keep your heart on fire. And stay focused until the mission is complete. Your growth doesn't need validation. That's one of the hardest truths to accept when you start changing your life. Because in the beginning, you crave recognition. You want people to see your progress, to clap for your effort, to tell you they're proud of you. You want them to understand the pain it took to change, the sacrifice it required, the nights you had to face yourself. But the reality is they won't. Not everyone will see it, not everyone will get it, and not everyone will support it. And if you keep waiting for validation before you move, you'll never go anywhere. Growth is personal. It's private. It's often invisible until it's undeniable. That's why you must stop depending on applause to feel valuable and start relying on your own conviction to feel powerful. When you start growing, you begin to outgrow people, environments, and versions of yourself that once felt comfortable. The same people who used to cheer for you may go quiet. Some might even distance themselves, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your growth reminds them of what they haven't done. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your consistency reveals their complacency. And instead of clapping, they'll criticize. Instead of supporting, they'll doubt. That's when you have to understand that silence from others is not rejection, it's redirection. The world doesn't need to validate your progress. It will feel your impact when the results start to show. But for now, your job is to stay locked in. There's a moment every person chasing greatness has to face. The moment when no one believes in them anymore. When the hype fades, when the energy dies, when people stop checking in, that's when the real ones rise. Because growth isn't supposed to be loud. It's not supposed to look glamorous. Growth looks like discipline when you're tired. Growth looks like sacrifice when nobody's watching. Growth looks like late nights, hard decisions, and invisible progress. But that invisible progress, that's what builds the kind of strength that lasts. You can't expect people to validate what they can't even see yet. They weren't there for the hours you spent in silence, rebuilding your mind, changing your habits, rewiring your life. They don't know what it took, and they don't have to. See, validation is a trap. The moment you start needing it, you lose power because your energy shifts from creating to convincing. Instead of focusing on becoming your best, you start trying to prove your worth. And every time someone doesn't clap for you, you feel like you failed. That's not growth. That's dependency. The truth is real growth happens when you can clap for yourself. When you can look in the mirror and say, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm better than I was. That quiet confidence, that's power. That's how you know you're evolving. Because you no longer need validation to feel alive. Your progress becomes your own proof. Validation will never be enough anyway. The same people who praise you today will doubt you tomorrow. Opinions change. Applause fades. But your mission, that's eternal. When you do things for validation, your growth becomes conditional. When you do things for purpose, your growth becomes unstoppable. You have to reach a point where you say, I don't care who sees me. I don't care who approves. I'm doing this because I owe it to myself. That's when your power activates. Because now you're moving with intention, not insecurity. You're not performing for anyone. You're becoming everything you were meant to be. You have to stop explaining your journey to people who haven't earned the right to hear it. Not everyone deserves access to your evolution. Some people only want to know enough to judge you. Others want to understand just enough to copy you. Protect your process. It's yours. You don't need to post every step. You don't need to prove your pain. You don't need to share every victory. Let the results do the talking. The most dangerous people in the world are the ones who move in silence and let their success become the announcement. When you stop needing validation, you start controlling the narrative. You stop letting people define who you are because you finally know who you are. The truth is, most people won't support your growth until it benefits them. They'll ignore you until they need something. They'll doubt you until you make it. Then they'll say they always believed in you. But that's okay. You don't grow for them. You grow for the version of you that was broken, the one who almost gave up, the one who needed to see that change was possible. That's who you're doing it for, not the audience, not the critics, yourself. Because validation from others fades, but validation from within, that lasts forever. There's a peace that comes when you no longer seek approval. You stop rushing your journey. You stop comparing timelines. You stop forcing results. You begin to understand that growth is a marathon, not a sprint. You realize that the silence between milestones isn't failure at the end of the day. Life isn't about proving who you are to people who stop believing in you. It's about proving to yourself that you were built for more than their expectations could ever define. You spent too much time trying to convince the world that you're worth something. But here's the truth: your value doesn't depend on who sees it. It depends on who builds it. When you start focusing on yourself, when you start cutting the noise and putting all that energy back into your own grind, something changes. Something deep inside of you starts to awaken. The same silence they thought would break you becomes the space that rebuilds you. The same distance they mistook for weakness becomes your preparation ground for greatness. Because silence doesn't mean you've given up. It means you've started listening to your inner voice again. It means you've stopped explaining your dreams to people who don't have the courage to chase their own. It means you're finally learning that peace is louder than approval and progress doesn't need applause. The ones who make real moves don't broadcast every step. They just show up one day so transformed that people can't even recognize who they've become. That's what you're doing when you focus on yourself and stay silent. You're mastering your energy. You're learning to protect your fire, and you're preparing your moment to arrive when no one sees it coming. So stop explaining your plan. Stop chasing people who left. Stop giving your time to conversations that drain your focus. Because every second you spend proving something to them is a second stolen from building something for you. The real ones, they're working while the world sleeps. They're growing while everyone's talking. They're becoming unstoppable in silence because they know that silence builds strength, and strength creates legacy. This is your moment to lock in. Your time to go dark, to get selfish with your goals, to become so focused that nothing and no one can break your rhythm. You don't need validation when you've got vision. You don't need attention when you've got direction. When you start choosing focus over noise and purpose over popularity, that's when life starts aligning in your favor. People will talk, people will doubt, people will disappear. Let them. You stay locked and stay building, stay silent, because one day that silence will roar so loud, it'll shake the same world that once ignored you. So as you walk away from this message, remember this: you owe it to yourself to protect your peace, your growth, and your future. You owe it to yourself to stay disciplined when no one's watching. You owe it to yourself to keep moving forward when no one's cheering, because success doesn't happen when people believe in you. It happens when you believe in yourself enough to keep going anyway. Focus on your lane, stay silent, and when the time comes, let your results speak louder than your words ever could. Your silence is your weapon. Your grind is your voice, and your rise, that's your revenge.